From CBS News Bay Area, this is the Morning Edition.
Thank you for joining us this morning. It's Thursday, January 4th.
Let's get started.
I will leverage the full weight of my office against these people who we believe ruthlessly and wantonly murdered an officer of the law.
Oakland peacekeepers working to keep the peace after the murder of a police officer who built bridges in his community. The around-the-clock efforts to make streets safer in the wake of tragedy.
We're just so in shock, and it was just so surreal and confusing, and we just didn't know what happened.
Neighbors with torched cars finding ways to protect their neighborhood after feeling the pain of the actions of a few.
And we are seeing the cliff that this has created starting now.
The upside to solar turned upside down thanks to new rules some say lead to layoffs.
I don't think you can ever really get angry at a pet for doing this kind of a thing.
And the story that gives a whole new meaning to the term cash out. You're going to meet the family whose dogs munch their money. No choice but to let nature take its course for the withdrawal that would save the day. The story that keeps on giving and giving and giving. If only the dog would give it all back. Good morning, I'm Reed Cowan.
And we're going to let you know I'm Gianna Franco, but it sure was a pretty stinky situation.
Yeah, I would call it the most expensive fertilizer you can possibly buy, to the tune of $550. I'm Nicole Zalimas. I'm just now cluing in on that was a burp from the dog.
Yes.
Okay, I thought it was like a mic that rubbed up against something. No, that was the dog burping.
The
That was his
aftermath.
physical process. Letting it go.
Just saying, I'm feeling very comfortable right now. All right, let's take a live look outside on this Thursday morning. And I guess you could call the weather today somewhat comfortable, at least from what we've seen throughout the week. We bring in Darren Peck, and look at that. That fog just went right across
On
the
cue.
camera there. I know. It was a really nice segue over to the clouds and the first alert weather. And here is Darren.
That cloud cleared out of the way just in time to see the Santa Clara Valley just show up right behind it. We're going to use a couple of other cameras that we have to show off this morning because you're right. This is a great morning because we're not getting rained on, so that's nice to be able to get out and not get rained on. And there's no fog. And the views are spectacular. That's Oakland. From the top of the Salesforce Tower, zoomed across, we're looking out past the port, and you can just see a beautiful shot of the city. Let's go to one other camera. This is our camera that sits on top of Mount Diablo. Here's another example of this day. That's Concord out there, and this is one of the few mornings we've actually been able to show it because it was either rain clouds or fog getting in the way. We'll do one other turn on this. I'm going to lose the monitor, and we're going to take advantage of our giant window on the bay. We iris this a little bit early. The sun's not coming up till 7:25. So it's not quite daylight, but that is a live view with the iris open, and you can see just the clouds that are hanging out right now. Most of those will be gone by the afternoon. We're going to be looking at crystal clear blue sky today. But because we're starting out with relatively clear skies, the temperatures are a little colder right now. So these are the right now numbers across the bay, and for the most part, it's low 40s. These are all about 2 or 3 degrees below where we were yesterday at this time, so it's going to feel kind of cool before you step out the door this morning. When we get back together in the complete first alert forecast, we're going to turn our attention to the possibility for light rain tomorrow morning. It doesn't look like a major event, but a few light showers on Friday morning, and then again on Saturday. I'll see you with more on that in a few minutes, guys. Back to you.
Darren, sounds good. Let's talk about those freeways right now as we get you rolling into your Thursday morning as you head back to work and school this week. We're still seeing some lighter than usual conditions on our freeways. We'll see a lot more people back to work and school next week as well, but certainly a bit of an uptick than what we saw last week. But the Golden Gate Bridge is moving along well, no delays or issues. Bay Bridge Toll Plaza, even though those metering lights have been flipped on, the roadways are dry and the commute is pretty quiet heading into the city. Reed?
All right, thank you so much. Let's talk about a community conversation going on right now in Berkeley, a clash of opinions about how People's Park should be used. The university wants student housing. Activists want the park unchanged and accessible. So you can expect to see hundreds of police officers and protesters as fences go up. So to those of you in Berkeley this morning, listen up. This is going to be a big headline where you live all day long. It could cause some traffic issues around People's Park, and that's where we find Sean Chitness. The sun is up. Sean, you're seeing police in riot gear. Get us up to speed on what both sides want and why.
Well, Reed, in addition to the police that are here at this barricade along Telegraph and Dwight, I want to point out that just in the distance where we can see People's Park, there is a construction crew working with a bulldozer. So activity continues inside the park while both sides clearly are trying to move forward with their preference on what should be happening here. And they have had to close off the intersection in two different directions because not only do the police have a presence here, but protesters who arrived overnight and into the morning knocked over some trash cans and created a barricade that is still there on Telegraph this morning. So let's talk more about what was happening last night and then into the early hours of this morning, where crews were cutting down trees, trying to clear off part of that area. That is another reason why protesters wanted to be here. They have said since the beginning that they want to protect the park. While this was all happening, we saw people that were gathering there, officers as well, the folks who were protesting, shouting for the police to leave. Some of them were arrested. A spokesperson for UC Berkeley says that people there were notified that they are trespassing, and the school is trying to move forward with this student housing project that it wants to have at the park. UC Berkeley says that some of the land will also be donated to a nonprofit for low-income housing, and 2/3 of the park will be left as open space.
The project at the People's Park site is a really important project for the university, but it was a project that was carefully designed to benefit not just students, but also the community at large.
Build the project someplace else. It was a great idea to build student housing and supportive housing, but that can be done on alternative sites.
So just to add to why there are people who are so passionate about keeping the park the way it is, they say that since it was started, it has been such a symbol of the free speech and civil rights movements, and that's why they don't want it to be touched. Back out live here again, there is still plenty of activity happening here. Folks cannot get closer to the park, but it is worth noting that all of this is happening during UC Berkeley's winter break before students return. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Sean. Happening this morning, 2 people facing murder charges for the killing of an undercover Oakland police officer will be arraigned in court. And the DA says she's going to do everything she can to put them away for life. Officer Tuan Lee was undercover in an unmarked truck early Friday when he was shot responding to a break-in at a cannabis business. He was reversing out of the area when at least one person started shooting. Lee was hit in the head. He died at the hospital a few hours later. Last night at a press conference, police confirmed 3 men are in custody and more arrests are coming. They believe 27-year-old Mark Sanders was the shooter. Court records show he has a prior conviction for manslaughter. Now he's facing murder charges with special circumstances. All that combined could carry him to a life sentence without parole. And that's a break from Alameda County DA Pamela Price's stated policy of avoiding sentencing enhancements in almost all cases.
I will leverage the full weight of my office against these people who we believe ruthlessly and wantonly murdered an officer of the law who gave his life to protect our community against those who would do harm to us.
28-year-old Alan Brown is also facing murder charges with special circumstances. Police also believe 30-year-old Sabron Russell burglarized the cannabis business just before Officer Lee was shot. All 3 suspects will be in court at 8:30 and 9 this morning. The acting chief confirmed one of the suspects was arrested with Officer Lee's handcuffs. We asked him if he's confident that the DA will prosecute this case to the fullest. Take a listen.
Yes, I am confident. They worked collaboratively to bring forward charges that we believe fit the crimes at hand.
Only the acting chief took questions at that presser last night. We were told up front the mayor and district attorney would not respond. That means we couldn't ask them any specific questions about Oakland residents' concerns about safety in their city. Be sure to stay with us for continuing coverage. We're going to keep you updated on air, on our website, KPIX.com, and streaming on the free CBS News app.